all of you to this panel discussion on the theme Responsible Innovation and Entrepreneurship. I also extend a hearty welcome to our panelists, Dr. Ernst, Dr. Shiv Tripathi, Professor Bharat Gopalan, Dr. Wolfgang, Dr. Anastasia. So before we start our panel discussion, let me just quickly set the tone for today's discussion. Now, as we all know that we keep hearing organizations focusing on profits above everything else, right? Every organization is only in the race towards profitability. And somewhere in the midst of it, we forget talking about humans. Though we've talked about the evolution and the studies about humans, but somewhere in the race, we're forgetting our focus on human. But then the humanistic perspective, which is the center of our discussion today, it's some way or the other, it brings back the humans into the picture, wherein they focus on not just individuals, but also creating good communities and the planet at large as well. And while we keep hearing discussions around technology everywhere, we are very fortunate that today in this panel discussion, we would be focusing on humans. So without any further delay, let us start and begin our panel discussion. So I would be asking different questions to our panelists here. Once the panel discussion gets over, the floor will be open to question and answers from the audience. So with the permission of all of you, I think we may start the panel discussion. So my first question is to you, Dr. Ernst. And the very obvious question, which I'm sure everybody wants to hear an answer to. What is the basic philosophy behind the Humanistic Management Network?
Thank you very much. Of course, that is a question people want to know, and we do get asked. And we define humanistic management through three main steps. And the first is the foundational and most important one is the respect for the dignity of life. We truly believe in the Humanistic Management Network, in the things we do, the research we produce, the events we have, the people we interact with, the collaborations we seek, that these can only be productive, and we can only achieve what we want to achieve if we genuinely and deeply demonstrate and carry in us respect for the dignity of life. Now there's two things here. It's a bit of a double-edged sword because I have not met any executive yet who has told me dignity is nonsense. We don't need this. What are you talking about? So that's the good side. The part where we have to work on a little is how do we operationalize that? How do we support business organizations, executives, startups, anyone who is engaged, involved in economic activity to not only agree that dignity is tremendously important, but to provide support to organizations to demonstrate and live and act in a way that respect for the dignity of life is warranted. Second and third, I just mentioned and keep it shorter. Second part is the integration of ethics in managerial decision making. So what we find quite often is what in business ethics we call a corrective logic, where businesses are run and operated with a primary focus on profitability, and then something goes wrong, and then you have to spend a lot of money, time, effort to fix it. And we would say in humanistic management, integrate ethical reflection into your decisions, and you will build things in a way that they last longer and they don't break so easily. Your impact will be more positive, and over a longer period of time it will be economically beneficial also. And third, we say, as the third step of humanistic management, active and ongoing engagement with your stakeholders. Mistakes happen, honest mistakes happen, questions pop up that you don't have an answer to. Talk to those people who are affected by you as a business organization. Have an ongoing, organized, active exchange with civil society actors, with your employees, with your investors, with your customers. Learn from and with each other what societal needs are and how businesses can positively contribute to fulfilling those. And you know, the good news is this will be good for business. So that's how we define humanistic management.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Dr. Ernst. So I think he very rightly mentioned that when we are talking about humanistic management here, how can we forget, integrating ethics into whatever we do? And I think it rightly makes a lot of sense that we don't need to just practice and keep talking about, our profitability only, but then talk about how can we bring all our stakeholders together. So thank you so much on this viewpoint. So Dr. Wolfgang, Dr. Ernst just said that it's important that we integrate everybody here. So when I talk about humanistic management, how do you think it creates a positive impact on the businesses? And if you're saying that, okay, business is there, is business at the receiving end of it? Or is business involved in this whole process? So what is your take on that?
Thank you for the question. And I think that businesses need to differentiate between what should be the case and what is the case. And I think at the moment we are still too much of dehumanizing at work, and that can and must change. And when we talk about management and when we talk about humans, then I think we really need to understand what is it that humans want to do. So we need to really focus on the human. And I think the human psyche wants to accomplish two things in life: growth and healing. And while growth is obvious through education, for higher career levels, we often seem to forget the second part. We enter this world getting a clear message. The world out there is powerful, you are not. The world out there can do things you can't when you're young. And it's a decades-long journey to compensate for that, to catch up, to please the environment. I do believe that in the first half of life we are doing nothing else but to please the expectations of our environments. And then in midlife this changes when we notice time is running out. So in that sense, workplaces should offer opportunities for both. Growth, where does our potential lead us, our role models, our excitements, our curiosity, but also that we have at work the opportunity with good leaders, with good colleagues, to work on what is still missing and where we want to go. We all feel, maybe to different degrees, our shoes are 2 sizes too small. We all feel we can do more. So let us have workplaces where we get our individuality respected, where we can be us, where we can become even more of us. And in that sense, businesses, organizations are transmission belts. They are places where we should really emphasize opportunities to grow and to heal. And I'm not the only one proclaiming that. Nicolas Ciani last year won globally the Best Book Award for his book on the leader as healer. So there's more than just to maximize performance and the returns we get for an HR. We need to really understand humans and care for them and enable them to become what they're destined. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Wolfgang. So yeah, while you say that when we talk about humanistic management, it is important that leaders understand and give opportunities to their employees for growth, but at the same time also take care of the healing, because in that entire process we believe that humans are constantly under pressure, under stress. So I think that environment of healing also needs to be provided. And that brings me to another question which I have for you, Dr. Shiv. So basically in this humanistic perspective we are talking about values and humans. So do you think it is aligned with our own Indian ethos as well, our own value system, which talks about people, it talks about value system, it talks about ethics. So do you feel that it is somewhere or the other aligned with our own Indian ethos and Indian beliefs as well?
Thank you for this question, and this is a very interesting question when we discuss about the comparative ethos and comparative values. You know, there is a term we have been discussing for last 5-6 years in India, particularly in technical education also and management education, universal human values. And when we say universal human values, it's beyond any country, beyond any reason. We are looking for certain principles. So the humanistic management network, the values it is promoting, it is more focusing on universal human values, which fits anywhere. And for that matter, if you research, look into the values which are coming from the different traditions, cultural traditions, religious traditions, regions, you won't find any difference. It is the practitioners who have created the differentiation and boundaries. But the fundamentals remain same worldwide. Every human has same values, they are motivated by the same motivator. At some stage of the life it may differ from person to person, but these are very, very contextual issues. Fundamentally they align it to one, and that's what the humanistic management network. So I would say 100% it's aligned to Indian ethos and values. Only it's the matter of what lens you are looking into and how you are looking at. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Shiv. So yeah, like Dr. Shiv mentioned that it's not that these values are different from culture to culture. When we talk about these values, they definitely have a universal approach. Which then brings me to another question for you, Dr. Anastasia. So in what way do you think the current education system, whether again it is in Germany or it is in US or it is in any other country, how do you think our education system can probably evolve? Like in the morning, Dr. Shiv mentioned that we are still teaching the same principles, same philosophies, and nothing has changed. So how do you think we can bring about some changes in our education system and align it more with the humanistic perspective? So do you think there is something for us to learn there?
I would like to address this question. First of all, we only understand the present by analyzing a bit, having a knowledge of the past in order to have at least a vision for the future. So how it all started, it had nothing to do with these organized systems that we now have, that is massive education. Actually now we all know it is this fast education that we have multiple subjects but very limited knowledge of each. Because there is not enough time. You just give stimulus at the best. This is only what you can give, and each individual can take it and can dedicate extra time, focus where he or she can accomplish more, has more skills, has more, it's more up to the individual to expand. In the old days, education was something more like a mentor. It was more like one-to-one. And it was also kept a bit like a sect. So only the very rich and powerful were able to afford such a private mentor. Now what we see as in the duration of all these multiple years that our species in the planet is that when people are aware that there are other ways to live this human experience, they act better. We have less conflicts and so on. We have more potential brainstorming ideas. We exchange knowledge, and nowadays, of course, with AI, we can exchange in a very rapid way. Because AI is not something bad, it's not something good, it's just a tool. And we all know what also a Chinese proverb says, there is no bad or good tool. It is, no matter how good the tool is, it is how we use it. If we use that tool as something that is perceived as a bad cause, then the tool will work in a wrong way. If we use the tool like diamond, right? Diamonds are very sharp, actually, and they are used as weapons as well. But at the same time, they are used as jewels, right? It has to do how we use. And now with artificial intelligence, all these digital systems, of course, what we have is big data accumulation that we can easily share. And remember how it was during the pandemic. If we hadn't have these systems, internet invention, computers, Zoom and all that, digital pedagogies, we wouldn't have had the opportunity to give people some meaning. A lot of people strived, for example, during that period, also with mental issues, because we all want to feel involved and to have that sense of belonging. So as I said earlier, we need to see how it was in the past, how it is today, and intelligence is just one aspect. To have vision and imagination is the other aspects, and the combination is the best. So we need, as I said earlier, to ask ourselves what we want and what we don't want. If it is something that we like in the current system, we keep it. If we see that there is a gap, what is the gap now? Usually it's said now that it is so massive, education, that it doesn't correspond to the changing world, and the skills that are taught there are not the ones desired from the employers. And it is partially true. Because in that fast world that we have, you study digital marketing or this or that today, and in few months we have a new application. That, of course, it's not the fault of the school that didn't teach this to you, but it is this new thing, and all the time you are alert. You need to invest more time, more money, more stress, as I said earlier, and you need to find a way to cope with this. Unfortunately, this is the case now, and we all need to strive to find, to position ourselves, because this is what it is. We dedicate time and energy, as I said earlier, and money to enhance and become better with our skills, with our understanding capabilities, and enhance our intelligence and emotional intelligence. Because the successful leadership is not about who speaks the most languages, who knows the most applications there, the updated ones. It is good to know, of course, to have the know-how, but the most important thing is to cultivate empathy, to understand and to connect the dots, and to recruit and to form teams that one will supplement the other. Because usually it's not one super genius who can do everything, right? So these were my inputs to this question. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Anastasia. So like she very rightly said, the education system, what it can do is to help you all understand that we need to integrate technology in whatever way we're learning. So that is how probably we need to evolve. And as Dr. Anastasia said, that leaders have a certain role right there as well, which brings me to another question to Professor Bharat here. So, Professor Bharat, could you please tell us how does GIBS leadership ensure, or how does it bring humanistic perspective in the way it conducts itself and in the way it treats its people?
Thank you, Dr. Pallavi, for the question that we can contextualize what we have been talking about in the context of GIBS. Before that, thank you all panelists for sharing your interesting thoughts on humanistic values. When I talk of GIBS, I think right from morning we have been, one core philosophy or theme that has been running all through is humanistic values. Morning when we were having a small chat in the boardroom, we were talking about H to H. That has been a very core philosophy that our leadership holds close to the heart. And today this is happening because we have that H to H philosophy at the core of it. Why I say that is, think of a week back, we are just, Dr. Jayanta sir was mooting this idea of having this IRE Global Summit. And I was wondering, being in the thick of operational issues, can it happen within a week? A global eminaries and luminaries and thought leaders coming together and sharing their thoughts. And it is happening today because our leadership believes that being focused to the larger purpose, at the same time being open to innovative ideas and newer ways of doing, brings new ways into our collective work. And having said that, I would say, going beyond H to H, if you see the priorities that we hold, strategic priorities that we hold as an institution, if you walk into the room of cabin of our Managing Director, Ritesh, you find 4 Ps. The rest are okay. Process-oriented approach, progressive thinking, and also public relations. But on the top of all these pieces, not HR, people. People orientation is something that we give utmost importance, but as you said, how do you operationalize it? How do you demonstrate it? I can give you umpteen number of examples. For short of time, I'll say only two things. How we engaging people, which is becoming a big challenge, as Dr. Wolfgang mentioned. Two ways. I'll talk about the exit and entry of our people in the organization. Entry, we don't consider it as our unilateral right to choose people, but we give them an opportunity to experience our culture for a day or two, and they take a call rather than, because having worked in HR for decades, selecting people, I always thought it is our priority or prerogative to select the people. We don't do it here. People come in, experience the culture and take a call, and we respect their decision whether to stay or leave. This is one. And the exit incorporates the moment people exit, they are treated as, yes, you know all that. But the thing is, here the exit month is the most cherishable month for any employee who walks in. They are given utmost respect, not stressed with work and all that. They can do their work, be happy in the organization. We all connect with them and make them feel good with the organization. These are two examples. I can go on and on, but probably for the paucity of time, I should. Putting is anything, so experiencing our culture could be one thing probably you would come to see in the coming days. Yeah, thank you very much.
Yeah. Thank you, Professor Bharat, for sharing your thoughts. And I would resonate the same feelings that the very first day when you are having an interaction with our MD here, he says that, okay, I would not interview you, you interview us, and you find out what are the things because of which you would like to be at this place. And it's never a job interview that you might have faced anywhere else. So I would definitely say that we have practiced and we have a lot of edge-to-edge approach here at GIBS Bangalore. So with this, I come to my next question to you, Dr. Ernst. So while we say that the humanistic perspective in psychology that we talk about, it focuses on self-actualization, it focuses on an individual's values and individual at the center of everything. But then now with so much of talks about technology that we keep hearing about and so much of talk about AI being so important, and now we know that Elon Musk is placing chips in human brains. So don't you think we are somewhere deviating from the humans here? Are we not moving away from the humanistic perspective here? What is your thought on this?
My thought is that we're at risk of moving away from it. It's not decided yet, but it will take active efforts to keep it at bay and to ensure that technology will continue to serve humanity at large rather than turning into a mechanism that serves only very few people whilst it has a negative or adverse effect on many, many people. And I think there we have some work to do, and I think it is very challenging. And one of the main challenges is, I believe, what I always call the asymmetry in speed. When we're looking at the time it takes for societal deliberation, the time it takes us to decide if we want something or don't want something as a household, as a community, and certainly as a nation state or a global community, these processes are slow. Until we build consensus on something at a national level, it takes forever. And on a global level, we're almost unable to ever succeed. At the same time, we see that technologies are moving by the day. And which leads us into the situation currently that what is doable will be done, because there's not really a democratic mechanism that can regulate and that can say, we know you can do this, but we don't want it. And so I think that is one of the major challenges we're having, to somehow find mechanisms in which the speed that we take, the time we need to decide whether we want technologies applied in specific ways or not, is catching up with the speed at which these technologies emerge. But overall, sorry, just to add this, overall, of course, technologies are tremendously beneficial to humanity, or can be tremendously beneficial to humanity, but we need to be a little cautious with the Silicon Valley narrative, and maybe to some degree also the Bangalore narrative, that technologies per se and automatically are producing desired results. They do not per se and do not automatically produce desired results. Humans need to make sure that those technologies deliver the results that we want.
Yeah, agree with you, Dr. Ernst, that though we keep talking about technology, but still at the technology, at the heart of it is humans. So again, we can say the same thing, that we are not really moving away from humans, but humans are at the center of it. So which brings me to another question for you, Dr. Wolfgang. Could you please tell me how is leadership involved in this entire humanistic perspective? What role does leadership has here? Though we've been talking about organizations changing and leaders becoming important, but then what role exactly does leadership play here?
Thank you, Dr. Pallavi, for the question. And I think it's absolutely crucial to understand the role of leadership development for the larger, newer paradigm of humanistic management. Just to be clear to everyone, we want to establish humanistic management as a competing, better paradigm to what is in place, that businesses, organizations serve the purpose of human dignity in society as a good transmission belt. And for that, leadership development is as essential as it gets, because leaders work on the system, managers work in the system. That means leaders are more important than managers. Managers may bring the machine forward from day to day, but leaders work on the system. And once more, I like to throw around numbers, apologies for that. 70% of an individual's performance at work has nothing to do whether the Arcadian cycles are aligned, if there is an education in place. 70% of somebody's performance is determined by the leader, with all the good things and with the bad things. So in that sense, the leaders play a crucial role. 66% of people around the world say, the worst part of my life is my boss. 66%. So if you're talking about thriving, if you talk about respect for human dignity, well-being, we have a problem. It's not a discussion about moving good to great. It's about normalizing. It's about humanizing in the first place, and then go on. And just to throw one more number out there, I'm not sure what is up in the city of Baltimore, but in the city of Baltimore, 21% of white collars working in offices have already actively thought about killing their boss. It has reached that level of negative emotions, disappointment, disengagement that we need to work on. So in that sense, helping leaders fulfill the roles and responsibilities is absolutely essential. At the same point in time, it's also great fun to work in an industry, in a field where we can hopefully make a difference.
Thank you so much, Dr. Wolfgang, for your perspective. And I think that ways we've kind of been pretty lucky to be around amazing leaders. For myself, at least personally, I would say that the way I have become a better individual, I think it is a lot because of my leaders who were at the organizations that I have served. So moving on to the next question that I have for you, Dr. Shiv. How did you find an alignment with the humanistic network, which is currently present across the entire globe? So how did you find that alignment with the humanistic network? How did that work for you?
I'll take the example of two sectors. One is education, another is industry corporates. We all have been talking about sustainability, we all have been talking about corporate social responsibility, being responsible towards the society, adding value. It reminds me of a 70s classical article by Milton Friedman, who is criticized by CSR scholars, who said that business of business is business. And if you look into the Peter Drucker, what the fundamental purpose of business is, if businesses are legitimately doing the business, being transparent, fairly paying the taxes, and governments are fairly utilizing transparently the taxes collected from the businesses, we all are serving to humanity. Why we are discussing it today? Because we found there are deviations. And if you look at the root cause of this, transparency is at the core. So when we discuss about the humanistic concern, it is to reinforce the values for which the businesses should exist. And there is perfect alignment. We are not saying from the new planet. We are not saying that humanistic management paradigm is something which will make you, take you to a different zone and you start doing a different, no. Just do what you are supposed to do. In order to do that perfectly, you need to be humanistic. And that's what humanistic management is advocating for. The same applies to the education. When we all are in the education sector, and you see the way we are educating our students, thankfully, after 2020, the new national education policy in India, that is giving a lot of scope to the institutions to innovate, where we can align to the framework, global frameworks, to the standard frameworks, which will make us more humanistic. And if you look into the human values is one of the priority area in the new national education policy. So it aligns very well, it fits very well, and I am so hopeful that it has got potential to transform, and it will help in transforming. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Shiv, for sharing your perspective on how the corporates as well as education system is already having humans at the heart of whatever we do. So moving on to the next question for you, Dr. Anastasia. We here at GIBS, in fact, you must have heard our MD talk about it and our Dean talk about it, that we here emphasize on innovation, research, and entrepreneurship through our IRE workshops that we do every week. So it's a part of our curriculum that we do, and we are very proud to say that it is something which is one of a kind, and we don't see any institution practicing this philosophy which we have here. So how do you think, we've already talked about innovation, research, and entrepreneurship. How do you think we can bring in the humanistic perspective into what we are already doing? Could you share with us any insights which could be implemented into what we are already doing?
Thank you for your question. I was introduced to your model yesterday, and I need to say that although in all business schools they do invite executives, they have workshops and so on, in no other school I have had the chance to hear that they do it in such an organized way and so frequently. This is the key word here that I want to mention: frequency. It is like going to the gym. If you are enrolled there and you go whenever you are in the mood, you don't achieve much, right? This is the analogy. If you go frequently, even if it is for a little, you are exposed just a little, but it is frequently, consciously or subconsciously, you get the best results. So having said that, and just bringing up again what was earlier discussed with regards to these challenges in the working environment, we are doing all these workshops to have the know-how what employers want, right? So that we can adapt. This is the other key word, adaptability. And see how we fit in there. What could we do? Sometimes it's not clear. It's not everybody managerial material. Or maybe you are a good manager for this company, not good for the other company. And this is why my suggestion is, in order to explore yourself and to see where you are comfortable, before you do any kind of entrepreneurship, to be exposed, even if it is for a few days, internship or whatever, in different companies that you like to have the know-how. Because it's not simply the know-how of skills, it is, most importantly, the cultural know-how. It was mentioned by Dr. Wolfgang earlier that according to the reports, of course, a tremendous stress is the culture. Many people, even if they have achieved, or for one reason or another, high position roles in this or that organization, no matter how prestigious this is, they don't feel happy. because to feel happy, we all are in pursuit of happiness, we need to feel nice. We need to feel nice. And when we perform the best, when we don't feel blocked and stressed. Stress creates blocking and eliminates any kind of creative, positive thinking, brings the worst competitive side that we all have, and creates this toxic environment that everybody, even if they are highly paid and enjoy status, they actually are not happy being there, and I know many cases like that. And of course, during my course, I also have had the luck, I will say, to cooperate with many kind of leadership models. And many kind of models that there was no model. It was just a chaos there. And this is also interesting because there it is like this reality shows Survivor, that one is able to place himself, herself, where he or she knows that she can be accepted from that particular mix of people that is there at that space and time, to talk a little about physics. So this electromagnetic field is very important, and as you said, because you were exposed in a positive leadership, you also got to express the positive and to be aware of the positive sides that you even didn't know that you had. So it is like this, action and reaction. We need to move fast. Whenever we see that it's not having any impact in our growth, we need to move fast and keep our radars open. So having said that, to repeat again, that according to the model that you follow, it is in connection to the frequency that I said, which is the most efficient recipe. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Anastasia, for your views on that. And I would agree with what you just said, that it's important to create that kind of a culture and an environment where people can thrive. And we can proudly say that at GIBS, we have that kind of a culture in place. Yeah, I'm sorry about that. So at GIBS, we have that culture wherein we respect individuals and we value individuals, and we have constant appreciation for each other, for the value that they bring to the institution, the value that they bring to the classroom, and to the various things that they constantly do. And this brings me to the last question for Professor Bharat here. So as a GIBS IRE faculty who's there instructing the students and bringing those IRE values to the class, what kind of values do you think we can derive from the humanistic perspective, and what is it that you could add further to what we are already doing at the IRE workshops that we do for our students?
Yeah, thank you for that question. While it is very important as leaders, as management, that we follow the humanistic principles, it is also very important that we help students imbibe these values of dignity, respect for each other, empathy with people. And I have seen quite a few colleges having this program on innovation and entrepreneurship as courses. But we have interspersed between the two, innovation and entrepreneurship, the research part. Research part is, I can have great ideas and can go about implementing it, but research part brings out that empathy. Am I connected with the stakeholders? Am I connected with my customers? Am I connected with different people who are going to be impacted by my innovation or the new idea that I bring in? This research makes it more grounded so that the people who want to create that business have the connect with different stakeholders and the society on which they'll be making an impact. That makes it, I think, more responsible. As a leader or facilitator of IRE, I think that I would reiterate or reinforce that thought that research should bring in responsibility on the part of all of us to bring in something that not just in the pursuit of making money or business, but more with the intention of helping the society at large. I think this summit reinforces that point. My thanks to all of you for bringing forth that point. And I also would say that there were quite a few ideas which are about socio-entrepreneurship. There are students who are working on bamboo oven cloths. There are students who are working on plowing back corporate CSR into schools, rural schools, so that they get a better education. There are students who are working on smart street lights so that energy conservation is there. So there are quite a few projects, but all the projects that we work on should lead to some positive impact on the society. I think at a larger level, it is about empathy and creating a larger good to the society. That should be the goal of all of us at IRE here. Thanks for sharing interesting thoughts, and I think this will take us forward in working on our ideas, business ideas, and maturing them to real businesses. Though our idea of IRE is not necessarily making them all start business, instilling a strong sense of entrepreneurial mindset, through which they can imbibe all these values of humanness. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Professor Bharat. So with this, we come to an end to the panel discussion, and I'll quickly summarize a few learnings that we'd had through the panel discussion. So the panel discussion basically centered around human at the center of whatever we do. So even though we may hear a lot of talk about technology, a lot of talk about so much of innovation happening, but then human is at the center of all of it. We also discussed the importance of ethics. So whatever we do, it's important that we do ethically. We understand the organization's value system. We understand why the organization exists and stick to those values even though we strive to achieve profits and to grow financially as well. So it's important that we keep ethics at the heart of our value system. And we also talk about frequency. So when we say there is a good habit, there is a good value system that we practice, it's important that we frequently practice that so that it becomes habit. And I think we also talk about that 21 days rule, wherein we keep practicing something for 21 days continuously, and if we do that, that becomes a habit for sure. So I think that is something which we need to practice every day in the manner in which we conduct ourselves.